In celebration of Pokemon for Pokemon Day 2025, let's talk about how the Pokemon world that we know and love actually came to be.
Magikarp.
It all started in 1965 with the birth of the creator of Pokemon, Satoshi Tajiri. He grew up in a rural Tokyo and was obsessed with collecting bugs, so much so to the point where the kids in his class called him Dr. Bug, and he wanted to be an entomologist. But as time passed and Tokyo became more city-like, unfortunately a lot of the bugs' habitats were destroyed, which made collecting for him very difficult. But he claims these years as an inspiration for the Pokemon series, as he wanted to encapsulate that feeling of collecting little critters for future generations. In addition to his love of bugs, he also grew to be in love with arcade games. And eventually, he went to a technical school to study electronics and computer science. You might be wondering, where does Pokemon come in? Well, right now. From 1981 to 1986, Tajiri created Game Freak, which at the time was a fanzine that published strategies and Easter eggs in games. Ken Sugimori, who is the lead designer and illustrator for Pokemon, came into the picture when he saw one of these fanzines in stores and wanted to illustrate for them. So, Ken Sugimori and Satoshi Tajiri began working together and created their very first video game called Mendel Place. The success of Mendel Place motivated him to work on his next project, Pokemon. When Tajiri saw the Game Boy and how players could link their Game Boys together, he envisioned bugs crawling between the links, kind of reminiscent of his bug collecting days. And now, we go into the development of Pokemon Red and Green. But it was not a smooth development. Pokemon Red and Green took nearly 6 years to create, nearly bankrupted Game Freak multiple times, and at times they had barely enough money to pay their employees. They had 5 employees quit, and Tajiri never even took a salary. Instead, he lived off his father's income and worked on other projects at the time. Eventually, Creatures Inc. stepped in and invested in Pokemon, which resulted in them getting 1/3 of the franchise rights. Probably the best decision they ever made. But the problems don't stop there. By the time the games were complete, the Game Boy was considered a dead console, and the games were not expected to do well. But Tajiri hid the Mew Easter egg in the game, which made people start talking about it more and more and more, and it slowly grew over time in popularity. And decades later, it is the biggest media franchise in the world. It is even bigger than Star Wars and Mickey Mouse, Hello Kitty, and so many other media franchises. And this is why The Economist named Pokemon as Japan's #1 export. And of course, Satoshi Tajiri was named as IGN's one of the top 100 game designers of all time. I personally have so many memories that I love with Pokemon growing up, including walking around with my little silver pouch with Lugia on it and the games inside. Not to mention when Pokemon Go became huge in 2016 and we were running around with all of our friends. If you grew up with Pokemon, comment one of your favorite memories below, and if you're new to the hobby, tell us what drew you into it. If you enjoyed this content, don't forget to like and follow, and you can check our page for more. Thanks for watching, and happy Pokemon Day!
Magikarp.